Not everyone has what it takes to be an entrepreneur. The ability to live with long hours, uncertainty, constant rejection, sleepless nights. The ability to ride on the crests of incredible highs and emerge from the depths of unthinkable lows.
When I'm getting $100,000 bills every month, that's gonna wipe us out.
It's hard. I'm not used to a frame, and what if I mess up and I click the wrong clicker?
The CPA industry is archaic, guys.
I left school. I slept on couches of my friends for a year, ate ramen noodles. I had $0 in my bank account the same day that we got $10,000 that night at 12 p.m.
I feel like we're grinding it out, and I'm never gonna make it. Like, what the hell?
But there are some of you who will pull through and do whatever it takes to make your startup successful.
I told you! Woo! Ah! Oh my God!
What makes a startup successful? Is it dumb luck? Hard work? Or is there actually something formulaic involved? Are there patterns that we can learn from other startups and repeat those patterns over and over again? I had the opportunity to speak on this topic at MIT about 8 years ago, and they asked me to come up with what was it I doing with all my startups that made it so successful. So I talked to a group of 60 entrepreneurs, very successful entrepreneurs about this very topic, and put together what I thought was the prescription for starting a new business, and then also scaling that business, exiting that business, and repeating that process over and over again. Now, I just want to get an idea here. How many of you are looking at starting a new business? Okay. How many of you are looking at scaling an existing business? Okay, so we have a lot of people who have established companies here already. How many of you are domain investors? Serial domain investors? They're the worst. Too many ideas, too many out of focus, right? We'll talk a little bit more about serial domainers as we go forward here as well. All right, that's great. Let me talk to you a little bit about my past and how I came up to this moment at MIT when I spoke to this topic. I started right out of university, in the University of Toronto, right at a time when I was very fortunate when the internet was just beginning to start. There was no such thing as the World Wide Web at the time in 1993. So we launched something called a BBS, a bulletin board service, my brother and I, and we took that up in Canada, and we took that to be the second largest bulletin board service in the country. Well, the World Wide Web hit in 1993, and we saw unlimited demand for that. So very early on, we actually shut down our very successful business, the bulletin board service, and we launched a company called Internet Direct. Internet Direct was a dial-up internet company and became the largest dial-up internet company in Canada in the 90s. We took it public. And then at the same time, we met up with a librarian out of Flint, Michigan, named Scott Swiderski, who had archived software on the internet. And he called the software the ultimate collection of Windsock software. Now, I know that sounds geeky, but the name, we changed the name to Tucows, and we launched that company as well in the early 90s. Fresh from our sales of those two companies, in 2000s, we launched a new company called Hostopia, which today is the largest provider of hosting and email in the world for telecoms and established service providers. After 2006, we took it public. 2008, sold it. I had the fortunate opportunity to work for a Fortune 1000 company as CEO of Hostopia and report into the CEO of Deluxe Communications. That was quite an interesting experience going from entrepreneur to hired gun. After Hostopia, I did my 3-year term, my sentence at the company, and after that decided to just think about what would be the next thing that I wanted to do. And it just hit me .club domain extension was something that I had studied in the past. I had studied the new domain extensions in the past. If you knew anything before that, it took like 10 years before these things actually came to market. We're probably having another, I think it might be 12 years this time before we see another round. So the .club domain extension was something that I just was absolutely fascinated with. I thought it had a lot of potential, and I thought it was a little bit of an understated domain extension compared to .web and .shop. And so I applied for that extension. Jeff, myself, and Michelle, we launched that company, and so far today it's been obviously a very successful new domain extension. Now, more recently, I've been involved in a couple of other companies. One is a software development firm out of the Ukraine. We have about 800 programmers, and they do a lot of the development of software applications and mobile applications. And also, very recently, e-commerce. In the last year, I invested in one of the startups that were in our incubator, and it was a company called Treat a Dog. And this year we sold almost 100,000 dog beds. And I've actually got Norm and Wilfred coming over to the office. We hired them this week to help us out with how do we scale that business to the next level. And we're always looking at companies from different levels. So from all of that experience comes what I call patterns. Patterns that happened between each of those companies. And I want you to, we handed out some sheets here. And I want you to think about your own companies with respect to the quadrants that I handed you out here. There we go. So I looked at it, sort of broke down the company at the startup phase, the scale phase, the exit phase, and actually the repeat phase. So for anyone here who's a serial domainer or a serial entrepreneur or wants to be a serial entrepreneur, I find that phase the most interesting of all. Because more often than not, I see these one-hit wonder entrepreneurs where they do a phenomenal job, get their company out, but they never seem to be able to repeat that success. Right? So I identified these patterns of how to start, scale, exit, and repeat. And at each stage, there were 4 things that I really need to think about, and things that I thought about at each of those stages. At least I think of them now. I wasn't thinking about them in the 90s, obviously, right? And that is the people, the money, the story, and the systems. All right, so just if you can think about at each stage, what kind of people do I need to run my company? Who do I need? How many people do I need? What kind of funding do I need? What is my story? And what are my systems to help me scale or to help me exit or to help me repeat those processes? So those are the patterns that we sort of discern. And I came up with some interesting thoughts that from all of this. And when I did the talk at MIT, it was 4 hours long. So I have to, obviously, I'm going at a little bit high level, and I also want some time for interaction and questions back and forth. I love answering questions on almost any topic related to entrepreneurship. You can tell it's a real passion of mine. You saw the trailer that we launched earlier. That trailer is for a 10-part series reality TV show of an incubator, and we'll be getting a lot of excitement around that. And Jeff's hired a producer who's actually in our office with cameras all the time. We're having a lot of fun with that. So you see the picture of the surfer here on the wave. More often than not, I'm certain every one of you or a lot of you here think that's a tough thing to do, and I know it would be very tough for me to do. But with respect to entrepreneurship, it's also a target as well. If you go too quick, you're going to stumble. If you got to catch it right at the right time. So what am I talking about here? I'm really talking about a paradigm shift that occurs in the world with respect to either a regulatory shift or a technological shift. So if we go back to the 90s and I look at my history and use that as the example, dial-up internet was the technological shift in society that enabled my company to explode in the 90s, just blow up and grow so fast. It was just unbelievable. And then in 2000s, broadband internet was the next paradigm shift that enabled the Hostopia to grow very quickly. Now Hostopia was an interesting one because we did something called Application Service Provider back in 2000. They later changed the name to Software as a Service, and now the name is Cloud, but they're all fundamentally the same thing, operating through the internet through software applications. And at Hostopia, we launched Software as a Service, we launched cloud computing level software, and we were stuck in what's called a chasm. Jeffrey Moore termed this phrase years ago, and he talked about it being if there's a technological shift, companies launch, innovators jump on, but then there's a gap between when the innovators grab that technology and when the early majority grab onto that technology. And that early majority is the wave, because that's where all the money's made in the companies. And the companies that position themselves around when that early majority starts to hit, their demand for those services are just phenomenal. It's just, he says there's one secret to success at that pace, and that's delivery. AOL delivered so many CDs and diskettes that they simply dominated the dial-up internet in the 90s. So when you're thinking about registering a domain name, when you're thinking about starting a company, if you can catch the wave, if you can register a domain name or start that company at the right time, you can see phenomenal growth. It makes starting your company a lot easier. Now, sometimes you start too soon, like Hostopia did, and we struggled for 4 or 5 years. We competed with downloadable software applications. I don't know if you remember when Apple had launched the first tablet. It didn't do very well. It just totally was way too soon for its time. So catching that wave, the right time, it's an art form, and it is what it is. You know, I'll say that the new domain extensions, this might be a little controversial, and I did an article on Circle ID if you want to read more about this, but the new domain extensions are, in my opinion, in a chasm. And nobody knows when we're going to come out of that chasm. We believe we're starting to see signs of the early majority. We're starting to see tipping points. We're starting to see companies like Chaos.club, like with celebrities like Colin Campbell and others launching these companies. We're starting to see more momentum. We're starting to see a lot more usage, and it's coming very quickly. Believe it or not, I believe it's coming a lot faster in China than it is in the United States. I think the United States is very .com centric, and I just think it's going to take a little longer for the United States, or entrepreneurs in the United States, to really start to adapt and grab onto those new domain extensions. Now, that being said, the tipping point is coming. We're starting to see signs of that, and I'm very excited. And I believe at a certain point, it will switch. Now, I think about 1 in 5 movie trailers I see have got movie on the back. I think that could be one of the biggest things that we see in our marketplace, because younger people go to movies, they see the trailer and say, hey, there's a .com and there's a .movie. I did see a .club, and I did see a .shop. What's going on here? All of a sudden, I'm going to start a business. And we saw it. We've seen it. .com is king. I know that. But we've seen very successful companies start with .co. We saw, was it Twitch.co?
Twitch.tv.
Right? So we've seen examples of other domain extensions do very well as well. So the tipping point is coming, and I believe that we're going to see a lot more diversity in domains and a lot more demand. It's just taking a lot longer, I think, than all of us had expected. So what are some of the paradigm shifts occurring today? What are some of the opportunities where you can register domain names, get phenomenal domain names, and or consider launching a business to try to catch one of those waves? One of my favorite is blockchain. I actually hand registered shareholder blockchain.com and .club for a business idea that I was working on about a year ago. So there are still some great blockchain names out there as well. I'm very big on e-commerce. I mentioned e-commerce before. I think there's a massive change going on in the world right now. Last week we heard Brookstone shuttering all of their stores. We've heard Orchard Supply Hardware shuttering all of the stores. Shopify has hundreds of thousands of new stores going online. So this isn't just an Amazon play. This is entrepreneurs who have ideas like the dog bed company that I'm involved with. There are entrepreneurs who have great ideas, create great products, and sell through multiple distribution channels. And one of those channels is their own e-commerce store that they have. And working on traffic and scaling your company with a company like Lowe's and Norms, that can help you scale much faster in the marketplace. It's all about traffic. We know it's all about traffic. So yesterday, I was excited to see that Shopify announced augmented reality for the new iOS 12. So now, when I was in the airport, I downloaded the iOS 12, and I'm in the airport, and I go to treatedog.com, and I'm clicking on the icon that's in the right-hand corner, and I was literally looking at a dog bed in the airport in front of an airplane. I put the dog bed just before the cockpit in the airplane, and I was looking at it on my phone. I'm thinking, are we talking now? This is maybe a small, but are we talking about change in the way that people buy certain types of products that they can lay in their home? And will there be entrepreneurs who seize upon that shift in the marketplace or the shift in technology and grab onto it? I'm very excited about self-driving. Don't know how to make money on it. I know there's some potential advertising opportunities on it, but I think that's an area of big change. I've talked about augmented reality. I believe that virtual reality, like Postopia in the earlier days, is today the chasm. There's just no mainstream applications pulling it into the early majority. I think innovators love it. I think that's the most quintessential classic example of what I'm trying to talk to you about with respect to technology adoption. I think gene editing has a lot of big opportunities. I'm not in the medical space myself, but I just, when I read about it and I understand it, I think there's a lot of things that will happen in that world. 3D printing, it's been out for a few years, but it continues to become more and more sophisticated. And then obviously the new domain extensions, I think they themselves are an opportunity. It's just catching the right wave at the right time. So we talked about sort of startups, ideas as paradigm shift. I want to also talk a little bit about a couple of concepts when you're thinking about a startup, and that is, I'm just going to jump in here. When you're thinking about a startup is to think about two things: scalability and a moat. Now I want to jump over to the moat. Here, you can see this is Cat's-like graphic from Google there. Hold it down. When you're building a business, a lot of companies can get attacked on many different sides and taken down. I was on a podcast the other day and I was talking about Amazon and the Amazon resellers. And do we have any Amazon resellers here? This audience, right? We saw Amazon review. And it's all about the king of the hill, right? You're the number one on Amazon, you got the most reviews, and then someone's trying to take that away from you, you get more reviews, and they're trying to knock you off the king of the hill, and then they're the king of the hill, and it's very tough to stay on top. You gotta keep fighting, right? So how do you build a moat? And there are a lot of things you can do, even with your existing company today. You can file trademarks, you can file patents. You can, one of the best ways to create a moat is create what I call an X factor. An X factor is something that you have that's very unique to you that no one else can duplicate. So at Hostopia, we came up with an idea of 100% migration guarantee. So we found out that the best way for us to increase our revenue was to migrate websites from the telecoms to our platform. The problem with migration is every time everybody knows about migrations, they can be a disaster, right? So, and a lot of employees who hire companies to do these migrations will often get fired when it is a disaster. So their number one concern is just getting fired. So what we came up with was, well, we'll guarantee it 100%. And if we lose one customer, we'll pay it $300. And understand, when we did the Earthly migrations, 80,000 customers. So we better not fuck this up. We better get it right. And, well, it was, obviously it stressed everybody out. It re-engineered our organization. We came up with the best migration software development strategy we could possibly come up with. Something that none of our competitors had. And then we dominated the market. And then we won AT&T. And we won Vodafone. And we won British Telecom. And we just took that one X factor and we just used it to dominate the marketplace. We created the moat. Scalability. I want you to think about where your company is today, where your idea is today. If you're $100,000 in revenue or $1 million in revenue, I want you to think about how do you scale it 10x, and what is involved in hiring people. How much funding is required to be 10x? What are the systems that you need to put in place? And what's the story you're going to tell? I think it's critical that you think about all of these components in scaling your business. 10x. Visualize it. I'm not saying you have to go out and hire the people who've done it before, but I believe in visualizing 10x. The people, the money, the story, the systems that are required. If you don't visualize it, you're not going to get there. If you visualize it, you have a much bigger shot of getting there. I think Jack Welch, I remember one quote that he gave me, or gave out there, which I took, was hire people with runway. If you're a $10 million company today, hire somebody who's got $100 million, who's got about a $100 million company. If you're, and by the way, don't do the reverse either. I've seen that blow up, where somebody's a $1 million company, and they hire somebody who's from a $1 billion company, and the guy walks into the company and says, there's no lean startup there. Like, he's like, oh, I'll hire the assistants and do this, and, fly first class, it's a whole different way of thinking when you run a larger company versus a smaller company. So I really believe in that 10x and the runway and getting those human resources involved in that. I'm going to try to go back. I know what that's happening. Let's go for it. Let's talk about exit. Everybody's favorite topic. You want to sell a domain name. You want to sell your company. In 2000s, 1999, Internet Direct, the largest ISP in Canada that I talked about earlier, we had taken it public, and we made the decision to sell that company to another company for a stock-for-stock swap. In that transaction, all of my shares were held up for 18 months. If you all, and for some of you, you'll remember, it was the dot-com crash. And unfortunately, that company that went to $1 billion in value collapsed over 18 months, and I ended up selling all of my shares. At one time, we're trading at $19 a share for 6 cents a share. So I completely blew it. 10 years of my life, and I blew it on exit. And I think it's an important part that each of us, when we think about our businesses, we think about how we exit those companies. And too many entrepreneurs screw it up at the end, and you spend so many years building it, and you're attached to this thing, and then you just screw it up because you don't do it correctly. There are a number of things you can do before exiting your business. Obviously, having good systems in place, good accounting in place. These are things you can do in advance. Having a good structure in place, even when you set up your company, thinking about exit. I know it's not something you might think about, but it's something everyone needs to think about as part of the process. So one of the mantras I came up with after losing that big, after losing the value of the shares and getting completely decimated in 2000 was liquidity or control. And it's just a philosophy of mine. I'm not saying it's a philosophy that everyone should necessarily 100% adopt, but there are too many shysters in this world. There are too many people out there ready to take your value and give you some oil and grease and do whatever. There's too many issues out there with shysters on all of it. There's people who try to take advantage of the hard work you've done for 10 years. So one of my philosophies is either give me liquidity, which I either get cash, or I'm in control of the company. And since 2000, I've had the mantra, and every one of my companies have done very well based on being in that position. And it's just my choice. I may make a little bit less money, but at least I know I'm going to walk away selling my company at the end of the day with liquidity. So when you're selling the company, I want you to think about three types of buyers. A domain name is the same thing. I really believe a domain name in some ways is like a company, right? So there's 3 types of buyers. You can sell to a cash flow buyer. How much traffic does that domain name generate today? Okay, it generates $100 a month, say $1,000 a year. Okay, so I'll buy the domain for 4 times earnings, so I'll keep it $4,000. Okay? Now, happens to be a 3-character .club, and it generates not a lot of revenue. It has great brandability. So the second best type of buyer to sell your company to is your competitor. Because then your competitor, and more often than not, not with domain names, but more often than not, will generate economies of scale when they bring your company into their company. And because of those economies of scale, they'll give you a premium over what a cash flow buyer would pay for that company. And then the last buyer, which I think is the most important, is a strategic buyer. And in the case of Postopia, it was a company outside of the industry that was very interested in coming into our industry, and those are the best when they're outside the industry. They want to get into your industry, they're strategic. And they had 3 million small business clients that they thought they could take our platform and cross out into their customers. And when I switched sides and worked for them, I learned through their business development team how they think. And they think that what we do is we look at what the business generates for earnings today and what will it generate after we acquire the company. And we're willing to give you a higher multiple because we can make more money because it's strategic and there's leverage. And with a domain name, a great domain name, I believe that exists as well. Now I want to talk a little bit about domain names, and one of the strongest moats you can create, in my opinion, is a great brandable domain name. One that has good SEO, one that is brandable. This gives you an advantage in the marketplace because it's hard for someone to compete and take that away from you. You know, in the case of the .club domain extension, we talk about moat, but it's very hard for Microsoft or Google to say, okay, we're just going to put .club out of business. They just, I mean, even if we buy something else, .club-e, and we give it for free, it's still not going to make a difference. With a great .com domain name, you have a moat. And so I think that's something to think about. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs say, well, I can't afford those great brandable names. But yet today, financing is an option. You've probably heard about Names.club, that's a financing platform that we have available in the marketplace. But I also think that even if you're interested in domain name and there isn't financing, more often than not, domain investors, I believe, will consider financing. Now, from a domain investor perspective, I would like to know, and we don't have studies on this yet, but we're working on it, that I believe you can generate a lot more revenue and profit by offering financing, because what you're essentially doing is you're partnering with the startup who wants to launch that business. And back to those serial domainers, you've got a lot of domains, they're sitting on the shelf. Wouldn't it be great if you could partner with some startups? Because every time you try to launch one of these things yourself, and you got 7, 10 different businesses, I've seen this with a number of serial domainers, they got 10 different companies, if they fail to have the people for each domain, the person running that business, they fail to have the funding, truly the funding for that business. They don't have the story straight, they don't have the systems. I think they actually have the story straight. Let me give them that. But they don't have the funding, and they don't have the people, and they don't have the systems to be able to scale those companies. So I think in some ways financing is a way of partnering with others to help scale your business and monetize your platform. I said I wanted a lot of time for questions, so let's open it up for questions. I'm willing to talk about anything about entrepreneurship. Who's first? Go ahead.
Thinking about financing and working with partners to sell them a domain name over time, are there any special terms that you've seen out there that would be tied to the success of the startup to actually help sweeten the deal on the seller's side? Or is it just pretty straight, like here's the payment plan, and after X amount of payments, it's yours?
Yeah, so it's interesting, I'm working on a deal right now, actually. Hopefully we'll announce it soon, but it's a lot more complicated. I mean, we're talking, it's a very, very big domain. And it's a lot more complicated than just, okay, finance it over 5 years. And I think when you start getting into these multi-$100,000, even $1 million domain names that sometimes stop and ownership can be a tool that you use in your startup, in your company, to incent one of the domain investors to let go of their babies and one of their kids. And it's funny how domain investors think about their domains. It's like, they don't want to let them go. But in some ways, I think there are innovative ways of buying names and or selling names. As a domain investor, I have to be careful that it's not all equity in something that you don't control, remember liquidity or control. So it's sort of a way that a transaction can be done where you can get a substantial amount of cash where you feel comfortable with the sale that you made, and even if that's financed, that's fine, right? But at the same time, you can get a piece. So probably a number of you have heard a few of the stories, but like Uber, they had 2% of the company for the domain name, and they ended up, I think, selling it to the company for like $100,000, that 2% or something like that. But they had the option of 2%, and I've seen a lot of those stories out there where domains can actually get some stock in these startups and actually be worth a lot. My fear for domain investors would be the liquidity or control. Yeah, Harry.
Domain investors generally invest in generic domains, but startup companies I believe, are more used to fanciful, brandable names. Is there a room? What is your position insofar as brandable versus generic domain names for startups?
Startups are broke, right? So what do? They go to GoDaddy or they go to Cedo, not Cedo, they go to One-on-One or one of those companies, and they try to buy a domain for $10. And that's it. And more often than not, we've seen misspelled .coms in the marketplace. I think that's been the most popular in the last 10, 15 years for startups. They don't have good SEO value. But then all of a sudden, the startup seems to grow. They're getting some traction. But really, domain name really isn't that great of a domain name. And the deal I mentioned I'm working on now is for a company that doesn't have a great domain name, but it's starting to scale. And I think that at a certain point, and this might be an opportunity for a domain investor to go in, is if they see a company with a domain name that's just a little bit off, doesn't have good SEO, doesn't have good brandability, but they seem to be doing pretty well, that might be an opportunity to meet up with that company or talk to them about their name. But more often than not, it's the entrepreneur who says, or the VC who says, look, it's time to get a great domain name. So there have been many examples of companies. Chewy.com that sold for $3.2 million was not Chewy.com. We all know about Facebook was not Facebook.com, right? So I think we saw the buzz take over, and then we saw the misspelled names take over, and now, I believe we're starting to see some new domain extensions launch. And surprisingly, I would say the new domain extensions are about 1 to 2% of the value, depending on the domain extension, the more popular ones, or 1 to 2% of the value of the .com, right? So a lot of startups are now using the new domain extensions. Not to say they won't eventually try to buy out that .com equivalent. That's a very possibility.